uh, we're going to go through our personal plan, and all of you should have received a copy of it in your email. And if you didn't, we'll make sure you get it. We're recording this and we'll share the slides. So the goal in the next hour, which I've got my team on here, is to really fire hose through the personal strategic planning process, kind of show you the different parts, and then hear from 3 of our stretch leaders on how they have applied it in their professional and personal situations. So we'll get going. Why we're calling it stretch, which gets right into what we're doing today, which is personal strategic planning. I'm Darcy, and Cindy's on the call. She's in an internet like desert, so she may or may not be able to see you or talk, but she will. I've got my other team on here, Nancy and Jane, so they can wave. But we are Stretch. Our whole purpose is to help people really grow beyond their maximum potential. In our world, we see a lot of people self-limit, and we see a lot of leaders not kind of push and maximize their people. So we just believe there's a lot of untapped potential out there, and personal strategic planning is a way to do that. So our partners, I just talked about, Cindy does the people side of the business. She does hiring. She uses the Berkman. She helps with organizational development, assessments, a lot of coaching, and she is just a huge toolbox when it comes to leadership training. And I have been doing strategy for 25 years, and we love to put those two things together and help people, company, and teams stretch with both leadership and strategy and teams. I mentioned our folks, Nancy, Jane, and Mandy, who does a lot of our training development. I always start with this. It's just important to settle in. We're going to talk about this for you. We think that people need purposes, teams need purposes, and companies need purposes. So ours is to help people stretch and enjoy it. Like the whole goal of this whole thing, and why we believe so strongly in personal strategic planning, is that you're supposed to enjoy work or enjoy life, enjoy wherever you are in the season that you are. And sometimes we don't really see ourselves in a place that we're enjoying it. So, our goal with the personal strategic plan is to help you find that place that you can enjoy. Our values, we're going to walk through you putting together core values for your company. We believe strongly that this is fun and energizing. We believe it's lifetime learning and engagement with empowerment, which is what we're doing today. And the individual, and our last one, which Cindy kind of talks about a little bit differently. I say it's a gift. Cindy says feedback is power. At any rate, if you're doing strategy, personal, professional, or you're in your team, you need to ask people. You need to really get others and listen and learn in the process. And we'll talk about that. So our vision, which you'll have a vision for you as a person and a team and a company, is 1 million stretch leaders. This personal strategic planning journey is part of our vision. We think you're stronger people, happier people, and that's part of our why we do what we do. All right, I'm moving fast, so you guys got to keep up. I'm just going to walk through this. So I'm going to give you a chance. The way it'll work is I'll walk through the process, and then we'll hear from our leaders, and then we'll ask questions. So what I would tell you to do, as we do in our stretch chats, put any questions you have in the chat. So if something comes up, put it in the chat. Jane will be monitoring that, and we'll make sure we try to answer it. Okay. All right. So I did highlight leadership development and strategic training. We do have classes we do on this. We don't think you can do a strategic plan in 30 minutes. So if you want to learn more about what we're doing, we have a class for that. We have personal strategic planning, and we have strategy training, and we combine them together in our Stretch Academy. Okay. So this is the whole thing with personal strategic planning. We think there's a place to have some self-awareness. So we're going to talk about, how do people see you, and what tools are you using to gain awareness? We're going to talk about how you are seeing, how you understand others, and how you communicate both who you are from your purpose and your values and your vision. And then we're going to have you put together a SWOT, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats, And after we do that, we're going to have you think about a vision. We want you to have a vision for yourself. We want people to help you with that vision. And there's a book called The Secret that says that the world wants to help you reach your vision. We just don't know how. And so part of personal strategic planning is to tell people what you want to do. And so we can help you. All right. This is our thing. I've said it already. We believe this so deep in our heart that everyone has more potential than they think. And so part of what we're doing with this personal strategic planning is asking you to stretch yourself. You'll see it as we walk through this, but putting goals down on paper, you're 42% more likely to hit those goals. You are 60% more likely to hit those goals if you share them with someone. And the last one, which is wildly crazy, that if you put a stretch goal versus one that doesn't make you uncomfortable, you'll actually do a better job of hitting a goal that makes you a little bit uncomfortable. So this is just part of the underlying reason for personal strategic planning. And the second one is this Igaiji. I may be saying it right. I do have pronunciation issues, just in case of all the people who know me well. This is a Japanese concept. We'll talk about it another when we go to the purpose. But our hope is not a strategy, but our goal is that through a personal strategic planning process, that you would find the center here, because you're going to take a look at what you're good at. I mean, what your strengths, what you're really good at, and you're going to connect it to what you love, which really what brings you joy, what you really enjoy doing. Sometimes what we're good at and what we love to do are not the same. And then the other two parts of this, what does the world need done? We all need purpose. We all need to feel like we're making a difference. It's not a good place to be if we don't understand that. And some of us need to get paid for it. Others don't, but some of us need to get paid for it. So the idea of this program is to find that intersection of the four circles, and that's what we'll call Igaiji, but that has to do with vision, purpose, and values, and we'll talk about that. Okay. All right, so this is what you have. You pull it out. We're going to walk through each section of this in four different sections. But it's really, the goal is not that you're going to do this in 30 minutes, but you're going to have an idea of how you might start this process. And then you can watch this video again, or you can call Cindy and I, and we can support you, or you can go into one of our trainings. Okay, everyone good with that? Thumbs up. Perfect. All right, so there's 4 parts to this process. And really the first part, this is the same thing with strategy, is anytime you do a strategic plan, personal, team, or company, you have to have a phase where you're listening and learning. You're asking people what they think about you. And we have a tool that we're going to encourage you to use. You're getting feedback from other people. You're probably doing a behavior analysis. Maybe you use Myers-Briggs or DISC or something, but understanding who you are as a person. And you're really trying to spend a little bit of time on, what is the world around me telling me? And then once we have some ideas on that, we're going to say, okay, here's our current reality. And we're going to walk to step 2. And the step 2 is where you're going to put together your SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you're really going to get a good idea of where you are today. And then we're going to walk and look at our purpose and our vision. And those are going to help us define our desired state. One thing in our listen and learn that we are going to do right up front, it's one of the first things we do with companies and people, are your core values. Those are your beliefs. They're there. You might not have identified and spelled them out, but you have been operating with core values your entire life. So we do get those out right at the beginning. And the last thing, so if you've got this self-awareness with listen and learn, we understand where we are with our personal SWOT and our brand. Then we talk about where do we want to be, our purpose and our vision. And then we're going to talk about how do we close the gap with goal setting. It's very important. So we're going to start with listen and learn first. Okay. And the first part is when we get to this, we all have to breathe in and understand that in a good strategic planning process, there's good and bad that we hear. And it comes with vulnerability and self-awareness. And we just believe it's healthy. That's a healthy place to be. But sometimes we hear things that we're not like too excited about. But those are things that we need to hear. And sometimes we get things that we love to hear. So part of this whole thing is that to do strategy, personal, team, or company, you have to understand that self-awareness is how we change, if we need to change. So one of the first things that we love to do in our class, if you've never done this or had your team do this, is why are you who you are today? And it's called, this is Cindy's tool, which I love. It's all about me. Just go back and look at your high events, your low events, the passions that you love to do, the gifts that you bring to the table. What are some of the experiences that you have? This is some of the things that we say make up your core values. These are very important. This was Liam. This is my son, Liam. And you may be able to see this, but part of his life really was great when he got his dogs and he went to Universal. When he broke his pinky, it was a bad day. And then the other day, the whole 6th grade was bad for him, which is why I took him out of public school and put him in another school. And then his other low point of his life was when he ran over a snake. And then he went to another school. But if you were to ask me about Liam, I could tell you from this, he values the relationship with animals. He's like a whisperer. He loves to be with his family. He loves to be challenged in school and not put in the hallway because he's asking too many questions. So these are things that are important. Your ups and downs. When were you happy? When weren't you? These are things, if you're a leader, you can do it with your team. It's a great team building exercise. And if you're a parent, it's you with your kids. I mean, Liam was oh my God. Anyone who's mute, can you mute? Yeah, perfect. Great. So out of the all about me exercise comes your core values. This is the first exercise that you do. And if you haven't done core values before, they are fundamental beliefs on how you operate. You know, for me, it's lifetime learning. For me, it's really being able to look at build people up. That's a purpose, but feedback is a gift. That's a value for me. Family first is a value for me. So what are those things that are fundamental beliefs and principles that help you behave and do the things that you love to do? And so they're shaped by your experiences, how you view the world, and what you believe in, you know, whatever your belief systems are. And so when we walk this through with a person and in a class, we give you all these ideas for values. These are all ideas. And then we say, look at those and say, which ones of those really define when I'm at my best, define the community of people that I like to be around. And then you go through it, you'll get your top 15. We have you go down to the top 5, and then we have you rank them. These are those things that really are, when you're not operating by these core values, or you're not with people that hold these core values, you're off kilter. So it's one of the first things that we do is to help you set up your core value system. It's very important. And if your core values don't align with your work, then Houston, we have a problem. So that's another thing we should check with. The other part of self-awareness is your behavior assessment. And so Cindy is a master at the Birkman, which is the most reliable, valid tool in the market. It's not for the faint of heart. My kids have done it. Honestly, actually, I still need Logan to do it. It's really not meant. It can help with lots of life transitions and changes. It's an amazing tool. Super powerful, has lots of depth to it. So I highly recommend it. We use that in our training. But you can also do a DISC, which is a great tool. You can do PI, you can do predictive index, culture index, enigmagram. I always say it wrong. Someone please help me. How do you say that? I'm not saying it correctly. Whatever. There's my pronunciation issue. But there's lots of different tools, strength finders. But we think those are important. I would really want you to think about who you are and how are you kind of built from a behavior standpoint. When we do our class, we also do a leadership core score. I'm not putting it in here, but part of our approach is leadership. So we do have our folks look at some best practices that Cindy's pulled together over the years and have them really see some of their strengths and weaknesses from a leadership standpoint. So after that's done, you'll come back to your personal strategic plan, and this is some self-awareness. You'll have some of your core values done. You'll have a better idea of why you behave the way that you behave because of your behavior assessment. And then maybe a leadership core score. So maybe something around that from a leadership standpoint. The next place, so that's a good self-awareness. The next place we're going to go is your SWOT over here. So that really is starting to get into you as a person and where you are currently. And one of the things we like to do right out of the gate, because who doesn't like a good SWOT? That's my strategy humor. Did everyone get that? It's just everyone can do the like happy faces. Who doesn't like a good SWOT? I've been using that for a lot lately. But here's the deal. If another good book, if you haven't read it, I'm a big believer in Radical Candor. Sometimes the hardest feedback that we need, the only person to give that to us is a trusted advisor. So let's be honest, some of us get feedback that we don't like because it's from a person we don't like. It doesn't mean the feedback's good or bad. But in our process for self-awareness, we want you to pick trusted advisors that really are giving you feedback to be better. We think it's powerful, but we think you have to have a trusted relationship with it. So we have a tool. Then these are great questions. You can ask these, you can use these, but these are 3 questions that we would have you think about. How would you describe this person? Another one of my marketing persons said, if you had to describe this person in 3 words, what would they be? That's your brand. What advice would you give this person to help them be more successful? Those are going to become probably weaknesses or opportunities. And then what additional gifts of positive or constructive feedback would you like to give this person? So when we start a class like this, we ask Colleen and Kathleen and John, they had to go out to 6 to 8 people to get this, because that is important when you're doing strategy. Cindy has a good thing. Don't let your dog's admiration define that you're a great person. So something like that. I'll probably get the quote wrong, but really we need to test that to see how others are experiencing us. So then we'll have you, and you should put together a SWOT. I'm going to have Colleen, when she gets her shot, talk about this. It's not an easy exercise to do, a personal SWOT, but we're going to look at what are your gifts? What are your strengths? What do you do really well? Put those down. What are people telling you? By the way, sometimes the words that they describe you, the 3 words, they may be core values versus strengths. So I don't want to get into that a little bit, but there's behaviors and then there's actually things that make us unique and different. So they're a little bit different, but their strengths, what makes you better than, not better, but what things are you really good at and why? What's holding you back? This is mine, clearly anyone that knows me. And then opportunities, what are the things that you could go do to operate by your core values, to get out of the place that you are? And so I think those would be professional or personal. Those are all the different things. Coach a kid, go get a dog, ask for a promotion, ask for another assignment, find a new job, go give your gifts to a nonprofit because you're just wildly, really kind of honed into that purpose. There's a lot of things that we can do. We can't do all of them, but let's make it a little purposeful. And then threats, what things could bite us? For me, was my mom. She was in a situation where expenses were becoming more than her revenue. So we had to put her in a different situation. So a SWOT is a big piece of a personal strategic plan. So we've got this left section. We've got this right section on the top. Now the hard part. I mean, that part was fun, exciting. Let's do that. Now we're going to move to purpose and vision. This is where we're going. This is where do we want to be? We want to every day be living a purpose. Everybody needs a purpose. I don't care if you're 85 or, 15. Part of, I think, what's happened with some of our teenagers is I don't think they have a purpose. They're just doing things to stay busy. We need a purpose. We all need that. And then what is a vision for you? And then we're going to close the gap. This is hard work. I'm just going to say, I'm not saying that the other things weren't hard, but figuring out purpose and vision are hard. And strategic planning is not necessarily the easiest thing, but we do believe that it makes us more authentic, happy, purposeful people. So we believe in it, but we're not saying it's easy. So the why really gets to what is it about when you get up every day? Why do you do the things that you do? For me, what we start with, so we start with, what are quotes that you say over and over again? What are quotes that kind of drive you? I know this sounds silly, but quotes that we say over and over again tend to be important to us. One of my purpose is around building people up according to their needs. It's Ephesians 4:29. That is my purpose. Like if I'm around people every day, whether it's the cashier at Soccer Village or Colleen, or Cindy, my team, like my job is to build them up. By the way, the cashier at Soccer Village is not interested in being built up. I've already tried. She doesn't care, but Colleen cares and my team cares. But I still think the Soccer Village cashier needs feedback. She could care less. But I live my purpose and my kids know that. So a purpose is hard, but it is a why statement. We did this with our church at Horizons. And it was an 80-year-old who had spent most of her life taking care of her family. Her husband had died. She was really in a dark place. She went through this class. I'm not kidding you. And she came out with a purpose that was deep in there, but it was going to drive her. It was sharing the gospel of Christ. I mean, it doesn't, sometimes your purpose is, John Owens on this, you're going to see his. I mean, it's around his family. There are things that are important to you. Don't let that be your what, let that be your why. It's very important to find your why. If you haven't heard of Simon Sinek, you haven't watched that video with him and his genes from 1988, you can go do it. It's a great book, but Simon Sinek, Find Your Why, you can go watch that. But it really is starting to get in this intersection here, that why. It takes a while. Cindy's got a lot in hers around kindness. And so I think it's just so important to find what's super important to you and make sure you're around people that, you can help with that purpose. There's an exercise to go through. You can start with why you work. You can start with why you exist. But we're trying to get to when you're the happiest. This is not easy. We've done it with people that are newly married with kids. I did this with my neighbor's wife. She's 35. It took her a while, but she found a purpose for her, and it was around her family. And it was super important to her that she saw her husband's purpose was around his family and more of a provider. So I think these purpose statements are important to clarify why we exist. Why is different than a to be. So a vision is where do you want to be? And it really is, we say this, Helen Keller, which is great. The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. We want all of our companies to have a vision. We want teams to have vision, and we want you to have a vision. So here's a good exercise. There's another video called Draw Your Vision. I think it's called Patty. We can share it with you. Can't remember last name, but where you actually look at your current reality and you draw on, we do this in our class, current reality, and you put pictures of it, and some of it might be bad. I don't like my current reality. And then we say, what would that new reality look like in 5 years? We had one guy do it where he was having too many hats, and then in the new reality, he only had one hat. So the new reality, and a lot of times doing this with pictures, vision boards. If you haven't done a vision boards are super powerful here. We like to have you do this current to new because it'll show the change that we need. So, here's the video. Sorry, here it is. And we can send it to you. It's called Draw Your Vision. And this is her, Patty. She used to be a comic. But it's very important for you to do this. Our brain believes a vision when we actually create it, and we put picture to it, put color to it. Our brain reacts in a more positive way to pictures. 65% more information is retained in a picture versus words, which is one of the reasons for me, if companies' strategies, their vision and their core values and their purpose are all in words, I don't think they're as helpful. I like to have pictures, but I want you to create a picture. Here are pictures from our class. So you can say we clearly had some drawers and we clearly did not. No judgment here. I don't think anyone here, but this is helping people see. This might have been we work with Maysville, Kentucky. And a lot of people in Maysville, Kentucky want land and cows. And they want actually to be working at our client, but they also want to be doing other things. A lot of people wanted to travel. I love the travel part. And so this was just an important part of vision, is to know, where do you want to be? And that's up here, that purpose and vision. So we start playing with what a purpose statement might look like. And we start thinking about what a vision. So within 26 minutes, I've taken you through this, 3 parts of this. Now, the last part, for me, is the power, right? It's making sure we manage the change that we want to get there. And that is with goal setting. And so goal setting has 2 sides to it, life balance and stretch. And I want to talk about those 2. So there's a book out. It's called, I have it in here, but How Will You Measure Your Life? It's Clay Christensen. If Aaron's on here, she knows, because we had him in Harvard. And he's amazing. But he's a big believer in what you want in life needs to match where you're spending your time. So if your family is important, spend time with your family. If you want to travel, save money to travel. If you want to have a dog, because you got a dog, spend time with your dog. Don't just have a dog and leave it at home. So if how we measure and spend our time, we want it to match up with what we say is important. So I've mentioned these already. Here's the reality. People walk around without goals. They're not unhappy. I'm not saying people without goals are unhappy, but I'm saying that potentially there's an opportunity to maximize potential with goals. I'm not saying that everybody has to have them, just saying there's an opportunity to maximize potential. And so what I will say is you're 42% more likely to reach it. You're 61% more likely to achieve it if you share it. And this is a whole thing about stretching, that we're better stretched than we are not stretched. So 2 things. Oh, here's my book. I know I had it in here. How Will You Measure Your Life? Part of the strategic plan for your personal is to go ahead and make sure your company, your family, your friends know what's important to you. My family knows if I don't get out and exercise 5 times a week, I am not a happy camper. I have that on my goal set. My people know that. I also spend time with my friends. I want to see them. I want to be with my friends once a year. I have that here. I want to try to go to church. And I have that here. I have some things psychologically and emotionally that I need to do. And I have some goals for work. I'll share mine, and I'm going to let these other folks share theirs. But having measurable goals there are super important. And then there's a balance goal, staying on that balance beam. And these are the goals that will stretch you into that vision. If you need another job, if you want another job, if you want to be in a relationship, but you haven't left the house, you probably need to figure out how to leave the house. And so these are the stretch goals that we need to think about if we want a bigger change. These are to meet our core values and to be happy. These potentially are a bigger change. Okay, there's 2 sides to it. So that is the last area. So literally, I've taken you through this. It's not complicated, but it does involve some deep thinking. Good? Okay, I know I've covered a lot. This is mine. And now we're going to let each one of our leaders share theirs and their journey. We've been on this journey at my company. We've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years. This is mine. You can see I've been doing strategic planning for a number of years. And I have purpose statement. I have a vision statement working on this. I have my values. I have my SWOT, and I have my goals. I green, yellow, red. And then I update this every year. And I put notes on it. So this is an example of that. It's in a little different view than what you have, but it's the same information. Okay. Now we get to hear from Kathleen, which we love Kathleen. Kathleen is she's one of our healthy leaders. She went through our Stretch Academy class, and she's just an amazing person. We value her so much, and she's going to share her journey. You can see hers is written and hers is work in process. So Kathleen, share your journey with us.
Absolutely. Thank you. I feel the same about Darcy and Cindy and her team. They are people that you want to be part of your tribe, and they surround themselves with quality. Their village is just quality people. And so I'm very blessed to have them in my network, and they care very much about companies and people and building them up. And I feel very blessed to have known them for over probably a decade now. So if you get a chance to go through the Stretch Leadership Academy, you'll come away with relationships, not only with them, but also everybody else that's out there working the daily grind, and take time to actually build some worthwhile connections. So made some good friends out of this. Shout out to Colleen. I owe her dinner. So I miss seeing everybody. So it's nice to see your smiling faces today. So part of my personal journey and going through this was definitely gaining vision and clarity, because I will say even Darcy's reminder of the reason that we put this together for ourselves was helpful, because it could have looked a lot different if I went into a different line of work. So take you back many years to when I was in school for college. I went to school for information technology. If anyone knows me, I'm a people person, and I cannot see me behind a computer doing coding and web design. I get a lot of my value and purpose from the interactions with people on a daily basis. So not only my clients that I work to build strong relationships with so that I can help them and their employees, but also the vendor and carriers that we work with. We're dependent on relationships with them to do the best that we can for our clients. So definitely a people person. And I could see where if I had done this exercise in any other line of work, I think it would have given me a red flag as to I need to redirect. So mine felt a little fluffy, because I tend to be a very, shiny penny. I want to make the world a better place kind of thing. And so even on the fear of mine that was just up on the screen, it's to not add value. So one thing for me is to make sure that I do bring value in everything that I do. And I will say this has given me some actionable steps. I hadn't looked at this in a while, because I just went through a move. And when I dusted it off and I looked, the visioning exercise that we did, that she showed the drawings, that stuck in my brain. So even though I haven't seen the written words, I was able to clearly see how I've made progress in what I drew out in that class so many months ago. And at first I thought it was kind of funny, an adult sitting there with some markers and drawing pictures of sun and palm trees, but it's very memorable and it sticks in my brain. And so it's not something I have to search for a piece of paper. And finally, I'll just say, you know you best. And I thought I knew me pretty well, and that this would be an exercise that I could get done in 2 seconds. But I think it actually took us quite a few times to carve out in the class to think through. And then I probably submitted it at the last minute when they said it was due. So it's not as easy as it looks, but it's worthwhile.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the way Kathleen approached it. I think we say strategy is an iterative process, and I love what she said. Like, this is going to get better every time she looks at it. And part of it is just the exercise of going through it and writing it down. I love it. Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, John, let's talk about John. John is our process owner for strategy at Parallax. He's a new dad. He's got a couple of kids, little ones. He said it slept 7 hours last night. We're pretty, not it, but the baby. It is not an it. But John is a really just someone who he's taken strategy on for his company, for his team, for his life. And so I wanted him to share kind of how he looked at this experience with really his personal awareness and how he has used it. So here's his plan. John, why don't you share your experience?
Yeah, a couple things really stood out for me. The first was asking my team, my bosses, and then some people I'd worked with over the years that I respect, to give feedback on what they kind of thought I was good at, what I wasn't good at. And that really went and kind of shaped my values. So one of my values is dependability. And that showed up across the board, across all of kind of, I think I had 8 different people give me feedback, and dependable was on almost all of them. So that was something that was validating for me. But from the other side of it, there were a couple people who said detail oriented, and I got detail oriented. I'm like, I like working on things that people could confuse for me liking detail oriented. But when I did my Berkman, I was on the opposite side of detail oriented. And it didn't make sense to me at first until I saw that one of the things I really need to have is to work with systems. And that's when it clicked for me, because I don't want to do the detail work. I want to build a system that does the detail work for me. And so don't have me work on something that is I'm going to constantly just be looking at minor details. I want to build a system and hand it off to that detail oriented doer, and then go back to working on strategy and systems. So that for me was the biggest kind of takeaway and aha moment. The other thing that really hit me, my number 2 value on here is curation, and I actually worked it into my purpose statement too. I have never been someone that is been described as creative. I'm not artsy. I can't play music. But how I become creative is by taking different things that people have already done and curating them to create a space or an experience. So my actual purpose statement is to curate well-rounded spaces and experience that support the growth and happiness of my family, friends, and community. And that community piece is big for me. It's not necessarily a job, but there's a job part of that as well. And right when this was happening, my wife was pregnant, and I had stepped down from some volunteer roles, and I got a new job that kind of takes me out of working directly into the community that I love. And so now I've got kind of this gap in community. And I'm trying to get back in and figure that out now outside of my day job, and find a piece that makes kind of that purpose statement whole again.
Love it. One of the things we tell people in strategy, especially with personal, is that you're not gonna get all of these concepts the first time through. You know, you're gonna really hone in on your core values. And then you'll probably get your purpose statement. For us, the vision takes a little longer to really nail that down, because we're really trying to work on who we are and where do we really want to go. And it takes a couple of iterations to get that vision statement. It doesn't mean we don't do it. It just means that we let the process work and percolate as we're moving along. Awesome, John. Anything else to add?
Not that I can think of right now.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And now we get to hear from Colleen. We saved Colleen for last. You can see, look at her. She's a lawyer by training. She's in HR. She loves this stuff, and we value the way that she approaches just people in general, and then her work and everyone around her. So she is director of HR, and she loves strategy. She's done it really for her team. She has a team strategic plan. This is her personal strategic plan. So thank you, Colleen, and we would love to hear your journey.
Thank you, Darcy. You are way too kind. You know, when I took the coursework, I thought it was going to be something completely different. I'm just going to be completely honest. You know, I live to pour into other people. I don't necessarily live to pour into myself. And so I'm like, great. They're going to teach me how to pour more. They're going to teach me how to grow others. They're going to teach me how to be that hand that reaches up and pushes people forward. And so when we got to this personal strategic plan, I think I pouted for 4 days. I complained, I moaned, I stomped my feet. I did not want any part of this personal plan. But at the same time had 2 individuals who I respect so greatly leading the class that, you know, type A has to be type A. And so I want to be the best in class. But, through this, what I learned about myself is that vulnerability, while tough for me, is going to be what leads me, and helps me become stronger and better on a daily basis. From a standpoint of looking at others and saying, hey, this is where I see value. This is where you don't value yourself. This is a strength. This is your opportunity. How do we get you to where you want to be? I'll take that class all day long. My best friend is actually on this call right now, Ricky Richardson, if you see her. I push her probably so much that she's saying, will you stop touching me? Because I want the best for everybody else. And so I really had to sit down and say, how do I pour into myself? Because you can't pour into others with an empty cup. And my cup was very, very close to being empty. And I'm still trying to pour into others, but now I'm pouring just air. And so it really took time with both Darcy and Cindy to say, Colleen, what is that balance? We know you work 60, 70 hours a week, every single week. We know that when you go home on the weekends, you don't leave your house. We know that you will do anything you can for the people around you, but how does that make you a better leader? And so really taking that moment to take that step back to say, who am I as a leader? And if can I lead others if I can't lead myself? And so that was the piece that made this so hard for me, because I really had to dig deep into who am I? And, anyone who truly knows me knows I'm sort of a flower child. I want to be the jack of all trades. I don't know that I'm the master of anything. Now people will disagree with that and say you have all this education, but, for me, it's just who I am. It's what I do. So I don't see it as anything that you put any true stake in. But what I did know is that I didn't put enough stake into myself. And so I really didn't have, what is my stretch? What is my purpose in my community? What is my purpose in my faith? What is truly my purpose to my kids now that they're grown? How am I going to be accountable to myself to make me better, to make my life better, so that when I walk into work, I'm always appearing at the best person that I can be? And that's the work. That's the work that you don't expect. Getting up every day and clocking in is just what you do. We all need a paycheck. But really getting to the point of, how do I create life while I'm creating work? And how do I make that be sustainable is where the secret sauce is. And so that's what you're going to get if you really take the time to take that step back and say, I got to put in the work, because if I don't understand me, I can't understand others. I can't do what I need to do. And a true leader, you're not a leader until you create at least 3 to 5 other leaders. And so I encourage each of you, as you go through the process or you think about going through the process, have you poured enough into yourself so that you can be the best leader that you can be, to create 3 or 4 to 5 other leaders that will be able to pour into others the way that you poured into them? Because now we're creating a village, we're creating a community, we're creating a tribe. And that's how we move forward, with finding people who have the same energy, the same vision, the same focus to take us to the next level.
Awesome. All right, Cindy, how's your internet? You want anything to add here? Is it good?
I'm just sitting over here ready to cry. I love hearing from them. I think that's the beauty of working through all this together, is you do end up with your tribe of people who are encouraging. And this life is big and it's fun and it's hard. And for us to really get clear on these things, what do we want to impact? Where do we want to spend our time? And I think for all of us, I know so many of you on the call, this is the stage of life for us about, we can do a lot. It's about what's important, what's impactful, what kind of legacy do we leave, and doing that deep inner work of self-awareness and taking the feedback as, I might not love what everybody says, but I love the power of hearing it and being mature enough at this stage in life to sift through it and get the nuggets of the gifts out of it. And so for me and Darcy and the rest of our team, I mean, this is the stuff that just gets us jazzed up. It's fun to create strategy for companies, but it's really exciting to create things that give people life and focus and purpose. So, you know, this is the fun stuff, and we encourage you take all these tools. If there's something you saw that you specifically want, we are sharers. We are glad to share it with you. We just really, sorry for the background noise, you guys. I'm in a shared space today that a client had to change a meeting, and I got bad internet and everything else. So, and thanks to Darcy and the team for covering for me. But you know, how can we serve you guys? How can we help? How can we impact the people that matter to you? That's what's important to us. So, and thank you guys. I just love the focus and seeing the growth in you guys of knowing who you are and the things you've accomplished. It's just humbling to me to be a part of it.
All right, so honing in, do we have any questions? Want to leave some time for any questions? Is there anyone that might want to ask a question?
When does your next class start?
Oh, yeah. Well, so we have, and I'll put that in there. We have a Stretch Leadership Academy, if you're interested, that covers this and other in January. So
Okay.
we'll put that out there. We're going to start filling that, or we're already filling it. But yeah, that's coming up in January. It's a good one. Well, how do you guys feel like, does it make sense to you, right? I mean, we tried to, it's a lot off, but you have, like, you'll start with core values. You know, have people done core values before? Show of hands, maybe some of you. Yeah, raise your hand. Okay, Sydney, Diana. Okay, so core values is the first thing I'd say start with. You know, think about what are those values that are important to you. Compassion, generosity, creativity, innovation. You know, Cindy always challenges, everyone's going to have family on there. That's true. But what are those other values in addition to family? And spiritual, like church, that really make aggressively authentic to you. They define who you hang out with. My good friend Erin's on here, so we share a lot of those core values. But they really define who you hang out with and who you know, end up staying friends with for life. There's a reason, because you guys share those core values. Who makes you feel good, who doesn't. So that's the first thing I would do. I really think that's a great one. And then behavior analysis, I think those are power. I mean, DISC, Myers-Briggs, you know, PI, Berkman. Cindy will do Berkman's for you if you're interested. She does those and she's amazing at them. So that's another self-awareness tool. And the other one that's scary is the feedback is a gift, or Cindy says feedback is power. Like, that survey is like nerve-wracking. I'm not gonna, like, you know, sugarcoat that. But it's anytime that if you're gonna do strategy, it's kind of my rule, then you have to have a listen and learn part, or it really isn't strategy. It's just you hanging out with yourself, and the same thing with the company. So if you're doing strategy, it starts with self-awareness, even if you're a company or your team. If you're doing strategy, you would go to your customers of your team and say, how are we doing? What can we do better? If you're a company and you're doing strategy, you go to your customer and say, why do you use us? What could we do better? What are more other things that we can do for you? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. If you're a person, you go to your key people that know you well and say, help me understand what's awesome about me. That's your first question. Like, how would you describe me? And those can be core values, or they can be strengths. The second is, you know, what things that I can do to improve. I mean, those might be weaknesses, and that advice may be an opportunity. I mean, the weaknesses, like, someone might give you advice that says, you know, we really think you should go meet with a coach on speaking because you're great and you have so much potential. But I'm not saying speaking is a weakness, but you would be such a better leader if you met with someone on speaking. Or if someone knows you well and they're like, look, we think you could have a high impact. Go join the board at the zoo. It's where your passion is. Like, go do some other work other than maybe what, you know, the impact. Your impact could be better and more if you go out and do something related to a purpose statement. So those gifts, as I think about them, are things maybe that you're thinking, but you won't say out loud. And sometimes that awareness for it being out loud is very powerful for us. And I do think it's a gift, because if someone takes time to do it, I think it's thank you. I didn't have to take that. Again, the Soccer Village cashier does not care. So I'm just saying, take her off the list. Aaron's laughing. And a lot of
Neither
servers,
does the potato place worker at Kings Island.
yeah,
according
the
to Darcy's
potato
children.
place worker at Kings Island that did not have a good system at all for actually fulfilling orders. They were very good at taking the orders. The fulfilling orders was not very good. They could care less. Even though I did want them to call the Kings Island manager, I just sat there for a long time, and my kids are like, enough. Like, I'm like, oh no, I'm waiting. They're like, stop. Anyways, none of those people cared, but most people care about you. So those are important to the self-awareness, the purpose and vision, and the SWOT. The purpose and vision, those are journey statements. Those are hard. Those take a little bit of time. But start, I like the picture. The picture's a great place to start. Your mind limits itself with words. So there's a reason why vision boards are powerful or pictures are powerful. Our brain literally holds us back with words. But if you just kind of dream with an airplane and a beach, it seems to like think that's okay. But if you said, I want to go to a beach in Mexico, you know, it might say you could never go there, you know, or the Italian Riviera. But if you wrote that and put someone, you know, the Italian flag there, your brain actually is a little bit more comfortable with pictures. It's wild the way it works. But it is also wild, even when we do this in groups, how many people want to help you with that vision. They just literally don't know. I used the story, you know, when I was at Procter & Gamble, unhappy. And again, I look at Aaron, like we were both in jobs, and maybe they were great, maybe they weren't, but we weren't as happy as we could be. So we needed to find the next phase of our life. And my mentor at P&G was like, I'd love to help you. I have no idea what you want to do. That's when I started doing personal strategic planning. He literally gave me a 1-page and said, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I've been doing it kind of ever since. My husband hates the goal setting every year, but he does it with me. But it is important for, you know, you to know where you want to go, because if not, other people might put you and assume, and it might not be where you want to go. So let's just be honest. Who's going to control your destiny, you or somebody else? I'd rather it be you. So, and then the last piece, really just you really making sure that you commit to change with these SMART goals, that, you know, and I think really kind of clarifying what is a SMART goal, what's a measurable goal. Losing weight is great. Losing 5 pounds in 3 months is even more powerful. So we all have examples of outcomes versus activities. And we really want these goals to be outcome focused, so I know when I'm successful. Super important again. And I do like you to think about stretch, like life balance, which is what I just seem to be doing every day to just live my values and be the best person I could be from stretch. Stretch is like makes me super uncomfortable. Life balance, like just make me happy. So see those as two different things. It's okay to be uncomfortable, but we don't have to always be uncomfortable. So those are two separate things. If you're going to need to do a big change, you're going to need to be uncomfortable. So it just depends on how big the change is that you need to do.
Any last questions that anybody has?
I know it's hard in these big groups. I did want to, while you guys are thinking, because Colleen asked, we do 2 classes. One is a Stretch Leadership Academy. If any of you are interested, it's in Cincinnati. We do go through this with a personal strategic plan and a team strategic plan and high performance roadmap. We've done 3 sessions. We've taken about 40 leaders through it. We have nonprofits, for-profits, people on their own, and it's a great way to do it. This is our curriculum. It's a lot about understanding self before you get to this personal strategic plan and team strategic plan. And then there's a lot of training from Cindy to really be a high impact leader. We also have done these personal strategic plans privately in companies, just this part. We've done it a couple of times at companies on just helping their people do it. So I did want to share that with folks. And the other one is just why we think this is important. You know, saying yes when you should say no lets others steer your life. Like that's the other thing to just recognize, like who's in control, like you are. And sometimes the right path isn't always the easiest path. The road less traveled. If you've ever heard that book. We all have stuff. So there, now I'm completely done. Anything else to add to questions for folks? Helpful? Yeah. Yeah, okay, so you'll get we'll put the video. We have all our stretch chats on our website, and when that's ready, we'll send all the PowerPoint out to you as a PDF, and then we'll send the video out, and you have the personal plan. It's already for your use. And then if you're interested in any of the additional training, you know where to find us. We have emails and phone numbers. Can you believe it? We did it in an hour. We did it in 50. I know. All right, guys. If you don't, we're going to stay on for a few minutes. So if you have questions, Cindy and I and our team will be on. Thank you.
Nice seeing everyone.
Hey, you guys.
Thank you, Kathleen, Colleen, and John.
You're welcome.